A presidential candidate just casually dropped anti-white racism in the middle of what was supposed to be a lighthearted video.
Up next, we've got to check in with right-wing content creators because some of them are currently having a meltdown over a joke about white people and tacos. That's right, we're going to catch up on the latest right-wing snowflakery coming from good friend of the show, Matt Walsh. But first, the context you need to know is that Kamala Harris and her vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz, recently released a social media video where they discussed food and seasoning and spices that was, to be fair, incredibly cringeworthy and poorly done, and as a result, went viral. Let's take a look at that video, and then we'll get into the unusual right-wing response.
Like I have white guy tacos and
what does
like
that
black,
mean? Like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No.
Oh.
Here's the deal. No, they said to be careful and let her know this, that black pepper is the top of the spice level in Minnesota, you know.
I'm the first vice president, I believe, who has ever grown chili peppers.
I'm trying to expand my food knowledge.
You know what? We've got some cantaloupes. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So when I first saw this clip, I rolled my eyes incredibly hard because it's just so stilted, so cringe, it feels so pandery and so inauthentic. But what I did not do was go and clutch my pearls and start crying about how offended I was as a white person that anybody would possibly make a mayonnaise joke or a joke about white people not liking spicy food, because I don't get offended easily. I've spent years making fun of liberal snowflakes who melt into puddles of tears anytime somebody says something that slightly hurts their fifis. So I wasn't about to get triggered by a joke, even a bad one that wasn't really funny, about white people. But some people on the right felt differently. Perhaps most prominently, the Daily Wire host, Matt Walsh. Let's take a listen to what he's had to say about this very offensive, deeply, deeply racist and upsetting comment from Kamala Harris, where she suggested that white people might like bland food. Here's his segment entitled, Kamala Harris is an anti-white bigot.
Everyone's skipping over the more important point, which is that a presidential candidate just casually dropped anti-white racism in the middle of what was supposed to be a lighthearted video. You know, Tim Walz says that he makes white guy tacos, and Kamala says, what is that, mayonnaise and tuna? Like, that is anti-white racism. That's what that is. And if you don't believe that, right, if you think that I'm overstating the case, all right, well, just imagine it the other way. Imagine a black guy says to Donald Trump, I make black guy tacos. And Donald Trump says, oh, what is that, like fried chicken and watermelon? Maybe sprinkle some Kool-Aid powder over top. Am I right? How do you think everybody would react to that? What do you think the reaction would be? Nuclear meltdown, literally. I mean, they would probably shoot a nuclear missile at Donald Trump for that. They would execute him via nuclear attack if he were to say something like that. I mean, the outrage would be so immense, we would never hear the end of it. The date of this black guy taco comment would be remembered by the media forever and memorialized. Like, for years after, they would solemnly refer to 8/16, right? We'd have January 6th. Do you remember 8/16? I remember where I was on 8/16. The day of the fried chicken and watermelon taco joke. They would be weeping in the street. They would build statues and memorials to the lives lost because of the taco joke. KFC and Kool-Aid companies would come out and denounce Trump over this. So would every watermelon distributor in the country. And we all know that. This is another one of those things where, like, there are people that are going to clip this. They're going to take this clip of me saying that the comment from Kamala Harris was anti-white racism, and they're going to try to present it as though it's just like on its face absurd. And yet even they know that what I'm saying is 1,000% true, because you damn well know that comment the other way, it wouldn't even be a discussion about whether it's racist. It would be considered the most racist thing a president has ever done. including the presidents who own slaves.
You know, guys, I'm starting to think Matt Walsh might have a slight penchant for hyperbole. No, there would not be nuclear weapons, or no, it would not be labeled the most racist thing a president has ever said and done. However, I do take Matt's point about the hypocrisy. I do acknowledge that if Trump made a joke about black people tacos having fried chicken and watermelon, that many liberal pearl clutchers would scream bloody murder and say, that's racist. But do you know what people like me and Matt Walsh would say? We would say, no, it's fine. It's funny. It's just a joke. Get over it. Don't be a snowflake. Because it should be okay to joke about things. And people who get massively offended over jokes that are completely lighthearted and have no real malice or ill will or substance or toxic history behind them are snowflakes. But Matt is essentially saying because they would be snowflakes if Trump said something similar, I'm also going to be a snowflake. And I'm going to accuse Kamala Harris of anti-white racism and being a bigot just because she made a joke about white people not liking spicy food. That is not owning the libs. That is becoming the libs to spite the libs. And you're going to have to count me out on that one. Yeah, the original joke is cringe and stilted and not particularly funny. But if you spent years complaining about liberal and progressive snowflakes, you cannot get all up in arms and get all triggered and scream racism if somebody makes a joke about mayonnaise and white people. Just because they would get offended if the situations were reversed doesn't mean that that's good or something we should emulate. We should be pushing back on humorless woke scolds who get offended too easily, not becoming one of them to spite them. I mean, just in the last few weeks, Kamala Harris has unveiled insane economic plans, flirted with open communist price controls, and done so many other things that are worthy of substantive criticism and pushback. But instead, some folks on the right, like Matt Walsh, dedicated entire segments of their show to playing the victim over a joke about white people and tacos. If you ask me, that is silly and hypocritical. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments below.